Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Teddy. Today I'm jumping into a game called Tiny Bunny. And this game is about a protagonist named Anton who constantly keeps seeing mysterious footprints in the snow. Takes place in the Siberian forest. This is a point-and-click adventure story, a narrative story. I don't know a lot about the game aside from what is said on the website. I just figured I would play it with Easter coming and see what we can jump into. The wind crawled at my window all night long. It wandered the fields and howled like a hungry beast. An endless song weaved from all sorts of voices, shrilled, gently sneering, twinned in the air. They were shouting and laughing and arguing about something. Someone was running through the snow while casting long shadows that would occasionally creep close to my bed. Our house had a mind of its own, the creaky old mind of that building that had seen a lot of its days, and an old seemingly trying to share its wisdom with the inhabitants. The lonely house faced the forest, and the dark green thicket gazed back on its hollow eyes, rustling, whizzing, swaying back and forth. One could only come out and stand at the edge of the forest to reassure themselves. There was nobody behind the crooked trees. Fuzzy silhouettes swaying in the wind couldn't possibly do any harm. It was just a play of the light and shadow. Just a play. I knew it was my imagination, and I was already 12 after all. Still. Ooh. You guys see the little raccoon fox thingy? Hey, put away your book. Mom, how many times have I told you not to read at the table? It's bad for your health. Oh! Oh! Oh, God. Ugh. Look at how slouched you are. Hide the book. I didn't protest. I put the book about Conan the Barbarian aside. I was stuck on a line I couldn't understand after reading it 3 times anyway. Oya had already finished her breakfast and was munching on some cookies. She was so enthusiastic. She looked like a typical girl from the commercials. You're not going anywhere until you finish all of it. I, on the other hand, was still trying to drill a hole in my plate with my eyes, as if I would make porridge disappear. Hazy anxiousness welled up inside because of the previous sleepless nights, the black forest around our house, and the glooming winds. The longer I waited, the colder the lumpy white substance became. It looked like a jellyfish. I wonder how horrifying the bottom of the ocean is, or how cold the black forest is at night. The spoon fell out of my hand. Mom showered me with a cold glare from her green eyes. We all know that parent stare. You know, if you're a parent, you know, you got your kids are acting up. You got that stare. You know, you point your finger and what did I just say? I'll get it. So this is Anton, this guy. I had 10 seconds to catch my breath before battling the nasty porridge once again. I felt around for the spoon. What is this carved on the other side of the table? Kapsna? Karina. Oh, that does not look like an R. It's probably because the game, I think, is originally in a different language. I put it in English, so that's probably what it means in that language. Huh, that's my mom's name. I guess she carved it out, something pointy when she was little. She sure was a rascal. Huh, you little rascal, Mom. I bet you didn't finish your porridge either. She would scold me for a week if I did something similar, though. Should I remind her about it? No, she's been in a bit of a bad mood lately. I imagine her being my age, sitting underneath this table. I wonder, was Mom afraid of the dark back then? Or the sounds coming from the attic? Afraid of the dark? Or the thick forest? I imagine my grandma coming into my little mom's room, sitting at the edge of her bed, where Olya sleeps nowadays, and saying this in her soft, smooth voice. Taiga is a special place, little girl. It's watching you closely, sniffing you out, trying to discern what kind of beast you are. If you are a good sort, it won't abandon you in the times of trouble. But if you're a bad apple, it'll grab you by the side and drag you into the ground. And that would be. Grandma was caring. She never fought with anybody, never yelled, never swore. Those were times without the madness screams until the late night, without smashed dishes and mutual accusations. Our parents used to love each other back then. I remember listening in on one of their conversations by chance. They were talking about Grandma getting prepared for her own funeral. Wow. She had already bought a casket. She called it her cute funeral box. It waited for its time in the closet patiently. It was black, upholstered, with meat-colored material on the inside. I saw it when my grandma was getting buried. The house didn't change since the time she was alive, only all the photos are gone. Glass covered the pictures of the grave faces of my ancestors. They all had a dead and watchful look in their eyes. I crawled out from under the table. That was a lot longer than 10 seconds. Olya was done with her cookies and was looking at my share like a little sly woodland creature. I turned my gaze toward the frosted window. There were a lot of dark pines outside, but they didn't grab my attention. The pattern of frost formed like a picture on glass. Oh, Olya, look, it's a fox. Where? It looked almost as if the optical illusion thingies they had put back in students' notebooks. A mixture of lines at first glance if you blur your vision a little and look underneath a certain angle. Not outside, on the window. Look, here's the nose, and here's... Hey, eat up. Yes, just a moment. I don't see anything. Hurry up, we don't have much time. Ah, there it is. It still doesn't look like one. And I'm telling you, it does. Nuh-uh. It does. Stop it. These kids, I swear. Now I couldn't see the fox either. It disappeared. Went away. Only the frosty pattern, similar to stretched out Natal leaves, kept creeping up the glass. My dad entered the kitchen with long measuring steps. I want to have a beard like his when I grow up. I can only hope my daughter would want the same thing. Mom could always ask jokingly, "Come on, shave it off. It stings." This was long ago. Nowadays, rumbling doors and witty comebacks were an everyday occurrence. Olya always covers her ears whenever she hears something like, "What's the point of all this?" through the wall. "It's all for your sake," Dad would reply, "for the sake of our family." I always caught every sound in fear of hearing the most dreaded and deadliest word that stretched with D. D-I-V-O. I don't even want to finish it. It was scary to imagine me and my little sister could be torn apart and taken into two different families. Anyway, your fox is nothing. I have an owl on my window. You and your owl talk again. Owls! You said you believed me just yesterday. Have anybody seen my car keys? I remembered leaving them on the windowsill. Right. Maybe you did, and maybe not. You're a grown man, a father of two, and still, Katrina, please, stop. Just let me get ready in peace. Your keys are in the basket, along with the phone. Well, thank you very much. Anton, stop making a martyr out of yourself and finish eating already. And the owl? There is no owl. But there was one. It had giant glowing eyes. Olya sprung up from the chair and placed her hand on her little face, imitating a pair of eyes the size of an apple each with her fingers. Last year you had Babia in your closet, and now this owl? But I saw it. Olya shifted her gaze back and forth from Dad to Mom to me and couldn't find any support. Have you thought about befriending it? You know, like feeding it with imaginary mice? Don't bully our girl. She's just as afraid to sleep alone as she is still little. Olya pouted her lips in rebellion and rushed into the hallway. The staircase led to the second floor creaked. Mom gave Dad a strict look. Oh, and that look in her eyes. It's so uncomfortable to be pinned under it. Dad just snorted and replied, ringing keys just left. A minute had passed, and the theme from The Little Mermaid echoed through the house. It was stored on incredibly worn-out cassette tapes, which Dad had already glued together once. Cassette tapes. Cassette tapes. That's all I have to say. It's so easy to fix objects by gluing them back together, for example. But how do you fix a relationship? Mom moved to the living room. I was alone, anxiously stealing glances at the window. Olya was having trouble sleeping ever since we moved into this house. She would toss and turn or curl up in a ball underneath her blanket. Sometimes she would just jump up in the middle of the night and turn on the VCR. Cartoons helped to take her mind off the troubles that we had moving into our parents. Ooh, hi there. Then Olya, she saw the giant flying monster out her window. She became obsessed with it. Our parents did everything in their power. They tried every little trick to get rid of the ridiculous fears. Olya refused to sleep alone and didn't believe that the owl was just one of her nightmares. After tonight, I was unsure what to make of my sister's words, what to think of it myself. Can nightmares be infectious? Just last night, I couldn't get a wink of sleep and ended up thinking of what to expect in my new school. There were a couple of days left before the beginning of a new term. My imagination drew long, twisted hallways that led to a classroom full of kids. But all the students behind their desk were simply dark figures cut out from a template. Circular holes gaped in the middle of their faces, and the edge of eyes blinked inside those holes, as if someone completely different creatures were looking at me from behind the flat black silhouettes. Their cruel glares filled with icy sneers made me shiver from head to toe. Will I survive? Won't they gang up on me and beat me down, stomp me with their bloody shoes? The damn school can burn for all I care. I just wish for anything to happen to it. Doesn't really matter what. I just didn't want to go there that much. I didn't want to see people who were just itching to smack me on the head, trip me up, think of new offensive names for me, worse than the previous one. I felt like the glasses I wore made me an outsider, some sort of monster. My gaze slid from underneath the drawer hanging in the walls. I couldn't consider myself a great artist, but Olya begged me to hang it. Drawing was the only thing that made me happy as of late. The small circle of friends I had also enjoyed my paintings, and they promised to call me from time to time. Sometimes I imagine Mom picking up the phone and saying in a cold voice, "You've got the wrong number." Or, "Anton is not around. Anton is not around." I imagine my future classmates lying on their beds just like me, listening to the howls of invisible werewolves outside their window. Maybe my new classmates will like me after all. But who would ever like a boy with thick glasses? I mean, my dad used to wear glasses when he was little, and now he's married to the most beautiful woman on the planet, my mom. The house creaked, pressed by the wind. The condo we used to live in, a 9-floor concrete building, buzzed with the neighbor's drill, mumbled with a TV set from behind the wall, cried like a baby from the big family next door. Our current house, though I can't really call it new, was completely different. It was silent and easygoing during the day. Its shadows lay dormant in the corners, on the closet cobwebs under the stairs. But they all woke up during the night. Something was watching me from every corner, almost as if the photos from my deceased family with their ashen eyes were hanging on the walls in the place of my drawings. The floor was squeaking, rusty drains were moaning, the attic was occupied by noisy drafts. One could think that the house was performing some sort of demonic melody. And then I realized, I was hearing music. It was already playing for a good while. Somewhere at the edge of my perception, I could hear a flute. It was mixed with the sound of the winds and creaking old house, and my thoughts, too. I stood up and rushed to the window. I wanted to reassure myself the music was nothing more than a product of my imagination. It's not like somebody is playing it there amidst the cold, snowy night, right? What's going on out there? Someone was dancing in the field. Black silhouettes I could barely make out with the dark forest as their backdrop. They jumped around, basked in the moonlight, bumped into piles of snow, rolled around, and crawled on all fours. Stories of wolves playing underneath the moon came to mind, and these were clearly not wolves. They stood upright at times, circled around holding hands and whipped up the snow, disappearing into the shadows for a brief moment and then coming back. Something bizarre was going on. Thick shadows dancing in starless abyss made my imagination go wild, making me anxious at the same time. Suddenly the music stopped. The dancing shadows froze in their place, and I swear, pierced me with their eyes. One of the silhouettes immediately parted from the bizarre shadow carnival and sprinted across the field with giant leaps. Oh boy. It glided on squeaky snow without leaving any prints until it was devoured by the pitch-dark shadows of my house, which became ever darker and thicker. My heart was jumping around like a bird inside a cage. I shut the curtains with a swift motion and stepped back toward the bed. They saw me! A freezing torrent of fear washed over me. I stood in the middle of a perfectly dark room and listened to some unwanted guest moving and scrape around looking for an entrance. The sound moved to the right, then circled around the house. And now, my guest should be at the front door. I jumped into my bed and covered myself in my blanket as if it could protect me. The shackles of fear locked my muscles. I remembered the funeral, my grandma lying there, hands crossed on her chest, her facial features sharp like that of an old tin doll. Ants running up and down the legs of the chairs that held my grandma's casket. I imagined those little creatures climbing up into her head and pulling her eyelids with her tiny fingers. Then her wrinkly eyeballs would once again move inside their sockets and she'd be able to see her grandchildren. I was chanting the spell she taught me throughout the whole procedure. And now, lying under my blanket and listening to squeaks and howls, I repeated the same words. On the island of Bouillon, underneath the blemished sun and the sea of color blue, stands a cabinet made of wood. There lay lard and ashen hair, for the spawn of the devil's lair, to fear had always leave alone, God's faithful servant named Anton. Evil, leave this house must. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Bizarre sounds had disappeared. I cautiously peeked out from underneath the blanket and saw curtains waving around like a hangman. And then the night doused me with a new portion of bowling terror. The sound scratched at my eardrums. In reality, something or someone was scratching at the front door, clawing at the wood, demanding to be let in. The door was shut. Dad had become very cautious recently, so he installed a sturdy lock. I remember him staring at the forest intently as if he was looking for someone. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. I hugged my knees, placing my chin between them, and drilled the door with my eyes. It was so flimsy and weak before the mighty darkness. And then the doorknob twitched slightly. Then it turned halfway, once, twice, as if a person who tried to enter had no hands. The doorknob tilted once more and then started clicking violently. My jaw cramped from fear. My wet fingers clutched the blanket. The door creaked and opened. The wind taunted, moaned inside the tin drains. Now you'll see. The door was wide open. Darkness writhed inside the carnivorous mouth of the doorway. Two? Me? It was as if the night itself was calling out to me. My abdomen tightened up and my chest rose up, ready to exhale from desperation. But before I was able to do anything, the darkness asked me, "Tony, you asleep?" My sister's pale face protruded from the thick shadows. I almost screamed from relief. "Oya, I'm not sleeping. Did something happen?" Oya frowned and sticked out her lower lip, a clear sign that she was about to cry. It's there again, staring at me. Shoo her away, Tony, please. I'm so scared. The fear that was tormenting me just a minute ago crawled and hid somewhere in my stomach. I need to calm Oya down. It was just a dream, silly. Don't be scared. Dreams don't bite. Nobody's going to harm you. Oya sobbed. She was trying her best to believe me. But was I sure myself? I have an idea. Let's go to your room and watch the video. Sleeping Beauty, for example. You like that cartoon, don't you? Why does the Sleeping Beauty have a prince and I have the scary bird? That question took me by surprise. Alright, let's watch Cinderella. My thoughts became tangled, fuzzy. What was that? What studied me with its eyes while dancing feverishly under the moon? The darkness was clinging to the window, and it couldn't be fooled by my grandma's old chants. It couldn't be satisfied with a feast of lard and long ashen hair. Tony, you coming? Yes, just a moment. Whoa, hey, what's up? Woo! Woo! That one gave me chills. Woo! Oh my. Got some goosebumps off that one. That's why I didn't want to laugh at Oya and her owl this morning. Who could be knocking on the door here in the middle of nowhere? We don't know anyone around here. So persistent. I felt extremely unsettled, just from a silly thought that just our morning guest could have come from the woods. I could barely hear voices coming from the door. My mind was urging me to hide. In the closet, under the table, behind the curtains where Oya always hides. Tony, come here. I felt like kettlebells were tied to my feet, but still dragged them toward the hallway. A couple of policemen towered over me in the doorway. They smelled like frost and worry. My mom always winced and grumbled at the moment she saw patrol cars, worse than bandits. At the moment, though, it looked somewhat confused. Hello? Senior officer who wore a grim expression nodded. A boy has gone missing yesterday. His name's Vova. Look at this, please. Have you seen him? The police held out a photograph to me. It was a ginger boy around the age of elementary school, pictured with a well-carpeted as the backdrop. He had a striped cat in his hands and wore a wide smile. No, I haven't. Are you sure? Look closely. Where would I see him? I don't know anyone around here. I barely leave the house. Well, maybe you've seen him from the window. That's right, your windows look straight to the forest, don't they? The window. No, I haven't seen anything. I see. His voice was tired, but his eyes, his stare, long and heavy, was full of suspicion. I squirmed unwittily under the weight of guilt, which his giant shadow cast over me. The policeman finally tore his eyes from me and glanced over the hallway, the stairway and the cracks on the ceiling, which I haven't noticed before for some reason. How do you like your new place, by the way? Getting used to it? Bit by bit. It's just our little daughter misses the city a lot. Misses the city, huh? How the locals have been treating you well? Yes, everything is all right, thank you. The policeman pierced through me one more time with his gray eyes. My head started spinning. Can I help you somehow? I asked that in a shaky voice to look like a polite boy to end the unpleasant conversation sooner. Now that I think about it, you look just like one of my nephews, little fella. He's a witty boy around your age, wears the same type of goggles. Ha! Always engrossed in reading those mystery novels. Told me he wants to enroll in the police school when his family visited us this summer. Wanted to help other people, just like me, see? I felt uncomfortable, as if a distant relative and not a police officer stood before me. You know what? Little boys like you should stay at home. Steer away from trouble. These times have changed so much. Mom interjected in a cold voice. You don't say. Well then. What grade are you in, Tony boy? 6th. Have you made any friends here so far? Not yet. I'll be going to school for the first time after the break. Then I'll leave you my number just in case. Call me if you have any new information. The policemen were gone, along with their shadows, the smell of cheap cologne and a photo of the boy smiling. His face stood still before my eyes. I thought about what he felt, being all alone right now. There. For some reason, I imagined the forest swaying around in the wind. What did his poor parents feel? What would my parents do if I'd gone missing? Would they cry and thrash around hysterically? Or would they accuse each other like they always do and eventually forget about me? Mom, this Vova, did he go missing in our forest? Seems like it, poor child. I looked out the window at the road. The police UAZ drove off toward the village. The officer's nephew came to mind while I was splitting off the old paint from the windowsill. I remembered all the teenage mystery novels from the Black Kitty series I read this summer. Your average boys and girls investigated all sorts of mysteries there. They looked for clues, spied on suspicious people. And after a set amount of adventures, bam, solved a complicated case. They became local celebrities, and they must have made their parents real proud. I noticed a trail of policemen's footprints that led to the forest, and then it clicked in my head. Why don't I start an investigation of my own? Maybe I'll find that lost boy, and I'll get my reward. Olya will be so happy. Not only Olya, Mom and Dad too. Maybe they'll even forget about their quarrels for a while. Maybe I'll even save them from the D word. I fantasized about buying Olya a Tamagotchi and getting a cassette player and a bunch of tapes for myself. A whole box of Kinder Surprise. When was the last time our parents bought us any toys? Last autumn, I think. My dad had lost his job at the time. There's an annoying song about it. I had little to no idea what was the accountant's job like. They counted money? Neighbors used to envy us. But nowadays, Mom or Dad barely had any money to afford sweets, and Dad would always divide a single chocolate bar between me and Olya. Sometimes I gave her my share too. No matter how much I wanted to eat sweets, she was still still a little pipsqueak. I couldn't wait to go out looking for clues. I'm going outside. Yeah, right. You want the police to go around with your photograph next? The forest is so thick. What if the boy got snatched up by a wild animal or something even worse? Even worse, echoed through the hallway. I won't go far. I'll stay away from the forest. Did you hear what I said, or should I repeat myself? You'd better pack your school bag or go play with Olya. The sound of splashing water came from the kitchen. It meant that the argument was over and Mom had the last word. Alright, everybody. I'm going to end this here. I really am enjoying this game. It's really in-depth. It's got a lot of invigorating moments. It's got a ton of stuff. It's just so in-depth. It's one of those games that just kind of grabs onto you, and it makes you want to keep playing. I'll continue this game. Without doubt, I'm going to come at you with some death and taxes after I get through with this. I'm going to play through this game too for you guys. If you guys like this video, go ahead and drop a like, share, and subscribe. I'll drop the link to this game down in the description below, as well as I'll drop the merch link down there too. If you guys are interested in that, it would really help me out a lot. I'll come back to you guys again with this here in the near future. I appreciate everything you guys do. As always, I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.